The world will never stop talking, but you can choose what you listen to. Some people see your dreams as impossible simply because they gave up on theirs. But when you stop hearing doubt, you start hearing your true strength. Once upon a time, deep inside a lush, green forest, a group of 5 frogs hopped happily down a muddy trail. The forest was alive with birdsong, the smell of wet leaves, and the sound of life everywhere. The frogs were cheerful friends, always exploring, always laughing. As they jumped playfully between rocks and puddles, the ground suddenly gave way beneath their feet and 3 of them fell into a deep, dark pit. The other 2 frogs rushed to the edge and peered down. Their friends were trapped far below. The pit was steep, the walls slick with mud, and the distance to the top seemed endless. The 3 frogs below immediately began to jump, trying to escape. Their legs stretched, their bodies strained, but they couldn't reach the top. From above, the 2 frogs shouted down, "Stop trying, it's too deep. You'll never get out of there." The 3 frogs below froze. Their hope began to fade as the words echoed through the pit. One of the frogs inside sighed heavily. "They're right," he whispered to himself. "This is impossible. No one could climb out of something this deep." After a few more weak jumps, he gave up completely. He sat quietly at the bottom, head low, believing that escape was hopeless. The other 2 frogs looked at him sadly and then looked up. The 2 frogs above were still yelling, "You're wasting your time. You'll never make it. Just accept your fate." But one frog below clenched his jaw. "No," he said. "I'm not giving up yet." He started jumping again, his small legs hitting the walls with determination. Mud splattered, his body ached, but he didn't stop. As the hours passed, exhaustion began to take its toll. Another frog inside the pit started to doubt himself. "They keep saying we can't," he murmured. "Maybe it's true. Maybe I'm just being foolish." He looked at the walls, tall, slippery, endless, and his courage broke. Slowly, he sank to the bottom beside the first frog. Now, only one frog remained standing. The last frog kept jumping, over and over. Every time he fell, he tried again. His legs were scraped, his chest heaved, but his spirit burned like fire. The frogs above shouted even louder, frustrated that he wouldn't stop. "Can't you hear us? You're going to tire yourself out. Just stop already." But the frog below didn't stop because, as it turned out, he couldn't hear them. He was deaf. He couldn't hear their discouragement, their mocking laughter, or their words of doubt. All he could see were the frogs above waving their arms, and he thought they were cheering him on, believing they were encouraging him. He pushed harder, he jumped higher, and finally with one last powerful leap he reached the top and pulled himself out. The 2 frogs above were stunned. They stared at him, speechless. "How did you do it?" one asked in disbelief. "Didn't you hear us telling you it was impossible?" The little frog smiled and shook his head. "Oh, I thought you were cheering for me." The other frogs were silent. For the first time they realized the power of their words. What they had said to discourage could have destroyed someone's spirit, but the deaf frog, untouched by negativity, had turned their gestures into motivation. This story teaches a simple but life-changing truth. What you listen to shapes what you become. Whenever you try to do something meaningful, there will always be people who tell you it's too hard, too late, too risky, too big. And if you listen too closely, their words will plant doubt in your heart until you start believing them yourself. But remember, their words reflect their limits, not yours. Their fears are not your reality. If you want to achieve something extraordinary, you must learn to be deaf to negativity, just like that little frog. Be deaf to people who say you're not good enough. Be deaf to those who laugh at your dreams. Be deaf to every voice that tells you to stop trying, because when you stop hearing you can't, you finally start hearing you can. And that belief, quiet, firm, unshakable, can lift you higher than you ever imagined. The deaf frog didn't have stronger legs, he had a stronger mind. He succeeded not because he was born different, but because he refused to listen to doubt. So whenever the world gets loud with criticism and fear, remember this story. Smile, take a deep breath, and keep climbing. Because people will talk whether you fail or succeed. Their noise never stops. So let them talk while you rise above, quietly, steadily, and triumphantly. Negativity is like a pit. The more you listen, the deeper you sink. But positivity, belief, and persistence are the ropes that help you climb out. So guard your mind the way the frog guarded his spirit. Choose which voices you let in and silence the rest. Because in the end, success belongs to those who keep trying, even when the world says they can't. If this story inspired you, remember, you don't need everyone to believe in you, you only need you to believe. And if you want to hear more stories that strengthen your courage and positivity, Subscribe and keep growing with us, one story, one leap, one victory at a time.